Eskom battling to keep the lights on. President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that South Africa plans to bolster its energy security by tapping into neighbouring Mozambique's vast natural gas reserves. Ramaphosa made the announcement yesterday at the third binational commission between the two countries held in Pretoria. For more on this, we're joined tonight by Professor Samson Mampweli, who's director at the Centre for Renewable and Sustainable Energy Studies, that is at Stellenbosch University. Prof, always good to have you on. Thank you for your time. So just how much of our energy problems, especially as we sit tonight with stage 2 load shedding, could tapping more into Mozambique's energy resources actually help?
Good evening to you and the viewers. So we all know that Mozambique has got quite a huge potential when it comes to energy resources. As things stand, South Africa imports about 1,000 megawatts from the Cahora Bassa scheme in Mozambique. They've got a potential to generate more than that. In terms of the gas reserves that the president is eyeing, Mozambique has got some of the best natural gas reserves in the southern African region that has been proven so far. South Africa could go be above Mozambique in the next few years if we go into our explorations. But I like the fact that the president is being proactive in this sense, because he's looking at various ways in which he can solve the energy crisis. I see him as a president who is seized with the problem, as a president who is coming up with so many ways in which this particular problem can be solved. However, the Mozambique aspect cannot solve our immediate problem, because remember, we still don't have infrastructure in place to evacuate the power from Mozambique. We also don't have infrastructure in place in Mozambique to produce the energy that we need. I see this more as a long-term kind of a solution, which is also welcome, because remember, we are in this quagmire because we were not proactive in terms of long-term planning on our energy system.
So just on the needs for infrastructure, what is the infrastructure that we would need to be able to get this energy and then ultimately use it to power South African homes and businesses? And how long-term would long-term actually be then?
So we need high voltage lines coming from Mozambique to South Africa. We need gas-powered power stations to be built in Mozambique. That can take about 3 to 4 years to build the gas-fired power stations. Transmission lines are easy and quicker to build, but with issues such as your environmental impact assessment, especially when those lines get into the South African side, it can take anything between 18 to 24 months before we could have a transmission line, basically an authorization for a transmission line to be built. So those are the two main critical infrastructures that we need, especially if we have to tap into the gas side of things in Mozambique.
You said the president is being proactive. I wonder how proactive he and broader government have been, given that Mozambique is no stranger to the energy game, and in South Africa we've been dealing with load shedding from about 2008. Why couldn't we, or why didn't we, tap more into their resources sooner? Yes, I know there's the Cahora Bassa supply that we are getting, but could we not have ramped that up sooner?
We could have done so. The biggest issue has been on the side of South Africa also. Initially, we had enough generation capacity. Actually, the generation capacity is enough. The problem is the aging coal-fired fleet that is now breaking down every now and then. And because of that, I think government was caught napping, because they thought, well, we've got enough generation capacity, and when load shedding started, they thought that maybe we can do away with it. And then we started with the renewable energy program in the country after the publication of the Integrated Resource Plan in 2010. And we had that kind of policy certainty that was disturbed during the state capture years. when some of the when some of the programs were interrupted, including the renewable energy program that was heavily interrupted when some people in government were now talking about the nuclear build, which is more of a long-term kind of a thing. President Ramaphosa was part of that administration, but he was not very much for that kind of a nuclear build. He was looking more on the side of mid-term to long-term solutions. When he came into power in 2017, from the publication of the Integrated Resource Plan in 2019, we have seen him proactively coming out and announcing, making some serious announcements, such as the unbundling of Eskom, such as the threshold for generation license that was increased to 100 megawatts. Remember, he made that that announcement before the department and NERSA could even make those kind of announcements. That's why I say he seems to me like a proactive kind of a person who is very much seized with the problem. And at some point I heard him talking about him not even sleeping about because of this particular problem.
The problem, though, it's all good and well for him to not be sleeping and making pronouncements. The problem is that it means very little to South Africans and businesses who tonight are still having to make plans to get generators going at a time when fuel prices have also gone up, where they've been dealing for more than 10 years with the same issue. So it's very hard for many people to actually accept that the president has been proactive.
Yes, I fully understand, because most of the initiatives that his cabinet has come up with, if you look at the new generation capacity that will come due to those kind of interventions, we're looking at new generation capacity that will come towards the middle of this year, towards the end of this year. We're looking at about 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts. Beyond that, we're looking at a much more stable power system. So I'm seeing a situation where his actions or his cabinet's actions now will basically have an impact in a very long run. And by that time, people would have maybe forgotten that he was once president of this country.
There'll also be the difficult issue of costing this. Any idea of how much we may have to spend?
As things stand, we don't really know how much we'll have to spend, but I would imagine that a program of this nature that involves two countries may also involve some private sector investment. In the country, we have a share in our integrated resource plan of the supply of electricity using gas. And I would imagine that government will then partner with the Mozambican government and go out to tender to look for the private sector investment. And then there can be private sector investment either through equity or debt, or 100% privately owned facilities that will then have a power purchase agreements with both the South African and the Mozambican government.
Professor Samson Mampweli from the University of Stellenbosch, good to speak to you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.